Hi, this is Carolyn James with Holistic Campus, and I'm here today with Sarah Lawrence, and she's one of the founding practitioners. And Sarah is a personal energy coach and an Akashic Records reader. How are you, Sarah?
I'm well, thank you, Carolyn. Lovely to be here.
Oh, it's so good to talk to you. So tell us a little bit about what this personal energy coach, Akashic Records, what does this all mean?
Okay, so two very big questions in one. I guess we could start with being a personal energy coach. Since I'm probably about the age of 3, I've always been very aware of other people's energy and been able to unpack information that either everyone I thought when I lived in Britain, it was too polite to talk about, or maybe, it was something we all knew, but nobody ever said anything about it, and that's just the way it was. And so it really wasn't until a bit later in life, when the spiritual life started to kick in, that I began to understand that there are more people like me that actually read and unpack energy surrounding and penetrating the human body. So that's it's not like push-ups, sit-ups. It's not that kind of coach. It's
Well, that's interesting. You said unpack energy.
Say again, sorry, unpack.
Unpack. That is so, I've never heard that before. That's so interesting.
Right. Well, so getting a load of energy flow while I'm talking about this too. Energy is information, data information. So, I mean, the nearest analogy we have is the internet. So, when people get a file in their Dropbox or whatever, they receive a file on their email. Sometimes it's in a zip format. But they know there's information in there. Somebody said to them already, I'm sending you this, and this is what it contains. And it's almost like I can see what it contains, or I have a sense of something useful in there that it contains, and then we can unpack or unzip it, however, using a particular energy modality, and help the person learn more about themselves, because we've all arrived here with energy packets, kind of.
And that really helps the left-sided brainers like me.
I believe that's one of the reasons the internet is here, is to help us learn to practice this new level of awareness, how the 5 senses make the 6th and more, and have really good analogies to help us understand, things like people who've passed over. We can say, oh, the internet doesn't really exist, but we all go there, don't we? We go, I'm on the internet.
Right.
And so it's the same, with spirit or with soul level information. It's there. Not all of it is downloaded. But, if we do ascribe to the idea of past lives, then it's being passed on from life to life. So,
very interesting.
So I work with that aspect of people's energy, and it can be at 3 levels. There's what I call 3D awareness, so things like language, meditation, tapping, stuff like that, which a lot of people are aware of now. And then there's energetic awareness, which is like the picture of my wolf up here. We've got that awareness of more greater than self. There's things going on that we're not, we get a sense of other things going on that we're starting to develop, connections with animals, telepathy, things like that. And then there's what I call Akashic, or some people might call it spiritual awareness. That's a mandala. You can't see it very well on my camera, but it's relates to one of the angelic energies. And so, people are becoming aware of all that level of awareness, that very high level of awareness. So working with all 3 levels through the Akashic Records starts to create what I call energetic integrity for people. So they come with issues like, well, I've got this issue, with a relative, or I've got this repeating pattern in my life, or I've come to a crossroads, that kind of thing. And so that's where we can work with that energy and find out what's going on.
By either one of those processes, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
But think of the Akashic Records as, so a lot of people say, what is the Akashic? It's Sanskrit for the ether or 5th element. So a lot of people who love that movie, The 5th Element, will find something about the Akashic in it. It's like, what is more than ourselves? It's an energy that actually, I believe, is a spiritual engine. It actually helps bring us here. We lean into the wind of birth and we're born, incarnated into a body. The Akashic Record records all that information and leaves like a track back. So when we live our life, our information is recorded for this life. Then we lean into the wind of transition. We go back to our soul level through that track back, and we leave a recording, if you like, in the group consciousness, in this case of planet Earth, we go back to our soul. And then so we've affected the group consciousness on this planet. We're back at the soul level. And in both cases, there's the Akashic record.
Oh, that's so interesting. Now, what about life contracts or things that you planned before you came here? Are those there in the Akashic records as well?
Absolutely. And I know that's something of personal interest to you. Given your book Life by Request. So yes, one of the things I do with one of the readings, what I call the Soul Star reading, people can access through the site, is we check a person's or a client's energy for all sorts of issues, and one of those can be life contracts. So more and more people are actually in this lifetime finishing up all their contracts. This is part of the new age where contracts are all being cleared. So most people either have, when I read for them, most of the clients I've read for in the last few years have some past life contracts, and consider that housekeeping. It's like, you know, you've got dust bunnies in the kitchen, so it's time to run the vacuum, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those can be cleared. But sometimes people have current life contracts, and they're almost, I call it the sneaking suspicion. You know, they're kind of aware that something's going on, but they're not quite sure what. And then when I point them in that direction, they go, I know exactly which one it is. It's that. And then we can work on it, you know, decide how they want to clear it, and then they can take action. So yes, it's very much an aspect of the Akashic records.
Ah, that's very cool. So now someone will just come to you, they're drawn to you, they're attracted to you, and it could be just about for anything, it sounds like.
Yes. The way I started with the spiritual awakening for me was, like a lot of people, with working with crystals and then working with energy. And then while I was working with energy, I also decided to get qualified in reflexology, which is foot acupressure, but also hand and ear acupressure. So that taught me a lot about, you know, meridians and the body. And then I thought I was going to be doing purely energy work. And then in 2010, I got this book in the mail that I didn't order.
No accidents.
Right. It was from a spiritual book club that I belong to, but I definitely didn't order it. It just turned up. So I looked at it and went, oh, I don't know, I think I might send that back. And then in the end, I read it. And it's by one of my first teachers, a lady called Linda Howe, and she wrote this book called How to Read the Akashic Records. And I love that her name is Howe as well, because I do think, like I said to you earlier, names are significant. So anyway, I read this book and I felt all this energy moving over my body, and it kind of scared me a bit, and I slapped the book shut and didn't touch it for another 6 months. And then around 2010 was when my mother passed away. And so there were more spiritual openings for me as a result of that, the release of that mother energy back to the other side, and our connections and everything that happened there. And so I picked up the book again, and literally from that moment, I could give people readings.
Wow.
So then I made a website or two, and people have started coming. And I also give readings and energy sessions locally in Wichita, Kansas, where I live. Nothing so weird as a spiritual way, a Brit abroad on the Kansas prairie, giving energy readings, reflexology, and Akashic records readings. So, oh well.
Gotta be a reason for it.
Right. So there's a local practice. I work with a lovely lady who does acupuncture, 5-element acupuncture, and I work at her practice locally if need be. And that, you know, there's actually a lot springing up in Wichita, believe it or not.
Oh, good. Well, I think there's probably a lot, springing up everywhere. But that's
right. It's the time. It's the time. So yeah, that's how that came about. If that answers your question, I hope.
So I know you and I are going to do a little bit of a session, but what else would you like to share before we do that?
Okay. Thank you. The other things I'd like to share is just to give people a few pieces of information, just very high level, about how the process works. Because a lot of people who go for readings, they know what a psychic reading is. You know, they might have had tarot readings, they might have had angel oracle card readings. But a lot of people initially maybe come for curiosity because they don't really know what an Akashic Records reading is or what it might entail. And the truth is, like many psychic or any other readings that we do, it will be different from practitioner to practitioner because each practitioner is energetically different. But there are some general guidelines with an Akashic record reading. So people usually find themselves drawn to the Akashic work for a number of reasons. First of all, like I said, curiosity, because the Akashic Records is an energetic experience and not just purely a psychic or mental or emotional experience like some psychic readings are. Not all of them are like that, but some are like that. People go away with a piece of information and think about it.
Yeah.
But the Akashic Records actually can change things for people on an energetic level. So they can come and have a reading and they go away and they might have a bigger spiritual opening or the answer to something that's been bugging them for years, or more lucid dreams, or a greater awareness of loved ones. So what it actually does is it can create an intuitive opening for somebody who's on the journey. So that is good for people to know. For a lot of people who are on the spiritual journey, who've been on it for a while, I highly recommend getting involved in the Akashic work somehow. The sort of levels of things that I can do general readings, which is you come with a list of questions. I can take it up a notch and we go more in depth, like the Soul Star reading, which is the one we're going to do in the next interview. And then people can even learn, if they want to access their own Akashic Records as a spiritual practice, and I can help them facilitate that. So, and I kind of call it probably like you, I've been to a lot of workshops on weekends mainly to start with, worn a lot of t-shirts, tried out all these different modalities. And for me, the Akashic Records has been the key, because I'm one of those kind of people. I'm like, well, why is that? And how does that work? And how does that fit in the big picture? And where does that piece go? And if that energy worker said that, why is it different to, I want to know, I want it to be congruent. I want to understand how I can use it to grow myself. And so for me, the Akashic Records finally was, it's almost as if Creator Consciousness said, okay, Sarah, you've asked enough questions over a period of years. I'll let you unpeel a little corner of the universe, peek in and go, oh, that's how it all works, right? It's how past lives works. That's why we incarnate, life lessons, soul contracts.
Very cool.
Even things like curses, vows, family feuds, problems, repeating patterns, people having physical health issues. It just depends, on the person's energy. But it answers so many questions at the high soul level truth part. So that really, I was like, hallelujah, after 2010, I'm like, things are starting to fit, all these disparate, because you can go into all these modalities. A lot of people, who are practitioners, they go, I do this, 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 and this. Yeah. But it's like, why? What for?
Oh my God, I'm that question. I want to know everything. Me too.
Right. And so finally I got peace and a higher level of understanding, which is what we're all looking for, really.
Oh, beautiful.
So I hope that helps. And then, so just from a practical perspective, when people want to have a booking with me, they need to be prepared to share some personal information. I do not stalk them in any way, shape, or form, just for the reading. And it's things like your place of birth, date of birth, and names in this life. And that is enough for me to access your Akashic Records. And then I use a very brief meditative process. I ground with the earth. I have a visualization that I use that I've practiced over a number of years. And then I'm able to access an individual's records at that point. So you can think of me as like the intermediary, or the when you're having a group phone chat or a Zoom chat like this, I'm Zoom, I'm in the middle. I'm Skype, I'm the one in the middle, and they're talking at me and I'm relaying it to you. So that's how it works with the Akashic Guides.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for explaining all that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we will get to it in a few minutes, and thank you for the explanation. We'll talk soon.
My pleasure.
All right, thanks.